right. Very good stuff, guys. In the meantime, the House has wrapped things up before the August recess. The Senate has not. There are a number of issues it has to take up before they check out of town. One of the hardest working senators I know, John Thune, Republican from the fine state of South Dakota, on what they're up to. First and foremost, Senator, with this Parenthood defunding measure, where does that stand? I know that it looks like it certainly got a majority vote, but no matter what you do, the president would surely veto it. So where does this thing stand now?
We're going to have a vote on it next week, Neil, and we think that that's important. We have a lot of our members who care deeply about this issue, have been incredibly offended by the videos that have come out. And I want to credit Senators Joni Ernst and Deb Fischer, who are members of the Republican conference here in the Senate, who crafted legislation that ensures that funding will be in place for women's health services, and that the things that are important when it comes to cancer screenings and STD testing and pre and postnatal care, those things will continue, just be funded through community health centers and other providers than Planned Parenthood. And I think the premise here is that taxpayer funds should not go toward supporting fetal organ harvesting, which is what Planned Parenthood is doing. And that's what the vote next week will be about. We're going to have that vote in the Senate, and we'll see where the votes are.
Is it your sense, though, that, when you hear on the left, not all on the left, I should stress, Senators, let's say that this was all sort of a hatchet job on Planned Parenthood, and that it was a cabal meant to get the response it did, and sort of like, the infamous Abscam tapes meant to entrap people? What do you think to that?
Well, I think that's a distraction, Neil. I mean, you got to look at the substance of this. It is incredibly gruesome and chilling, and I think any normal person would be deeply offended by this. The left obviously is going to defend it and try and attack the messenger, which is their typical strategy. But if you look again at what's been going on and what the organization and the doctors who are leading this organization and the way they're describing this, I mean, it shows just an incredibly callous disregard for human life. And I don't think it's something that taxpayer funds ought to support. We shouldn't be countenancing and supporting an organization that is doing these types of things and doing it with such just a callous disregard for life. Real quickly, Senator, I know there's another measure, an infrastructure measure. I guess it would be a piecemeal measure to keep infrastructure spending going, or the money's necessary to keep it going for a few months. But part of it is to go ahead and tax overseas profits from abroad from companies as an enticement, A, to get the money back here, but then to tax it for this purpose. But Democrats are saying that's not going far enough. They want a higher gasoline tax. Where are you in this? Well, we were able in the Senate, Neil, to pass we're going to pass today, and I'm headed over the vote here in just a moment, it's a multi-year highway bill funded without a gas tax increase. And we think it's important that we have a multi-year bill, that we not be doing this in 6-month and 1-year increments, which creates a lot of uncertainty, makes it very difficult for departments of transportation and those who are involved in building our roads and bridges to move forward. So we did it that way. The House has some other ideas about how to fund that. The Democrats, of course, want to raise taxes and spend not just on highways, but also on lots of other things. So my concern always is when you're trying to make deals with Democrats when it comes to taxes, that they're always going to want more revenue and they're going to want more spending. And I think ultimately you're never going to satisfy them. And I hope the House of Representatives, as they move through the process of trying to come up with a multi-year highway bill, does it in a way that doesn't lead to higher taxes and higher spending. And I'm quite certain that they'll do that. But we're going to have to work out the differences between the House and the Senate. I hope we can put a bill on the President's desk that is a multi-year bill that doesn't have a tax increase associated with it. Senator, seeing as you're one of the few Republicans these days not running for President of the United States, right. What do you make of the back and forth and the accusations, and Trump said this, and Christie said this, and Rubio said this, that it's turned into a vicious food fight, and some in your party are concerned that it's going to hurt them? What do you say? I think it's early on. Right now there's a lot of attention being paid, but it's being paid by the people who really follow politics closely. The average person out there in the country, when they start paying attention and start scrutinizing the candidates, are going to have to look at their positions, and they're going to have to look at the issues. And I think that'll make the picture a lot more clear. In the debate next week that Fox News will be hosting, I think we'll start that process, and I think you'll see the American people zero in on those candidates they think that can go the distance and
What
that
if
actually would be
but what if it's
good
Donald Trump
presidents?
who's going to go the distance, and that the political establishment hasn't appreciated that and doesn't see that? And
Look,
what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I just think that he's tapping into. There's a lot of economic angst around the country. There's a populist feeling across the country that thinks that Washington isn't listening, and he's tapping into that sentiment. I think a lot of our candidates will be able to tap into that sentiment, but I think in the end it's going to come down to where these people, these individual candidates, stand on the issues, because most Republican voters, when push comes to shove, are going to say, okay, who believes in the things I believe in, who's going to be an advocate for the issues that I think are important in the future of this country, who speaks to those. And obviously he's touching a nerve out there, he's touching a chord. Whether or not he's got the ability to go the distance remains to be seen, but I think we've got a number of good candidates in the field who are going to make a compelling argument about why they need to lead the country in a different direction.
Senator, thank you. It's always good seeing you.
Good to be with you. Thanks, Neil.
All right, Senator Thune. All right.